Hey everybody, welcome back. These are the horror films that we love, the 1962. Let's check out these incredible scary movies that came out that year of 1962. You're watching Yesteryear today. Let's get started. First off, we have is the Bloody Vampire, Count Calistogro, whose family has tried for generations to rid the world of vampires, instructs his daughter and her fiancé to protect several valuable documents. The Bloody Vampire will not disappoint. Horror. This is a scary movie. The Master, King Kong vs. Godzilla. The advertising director and pharmaceutical company seeks to boost the ratings of their sponsored TV program by capturing a legendary monster in a marketing scheme. Godzilla vs. King Kong. This is the original 1962 version. It is awesome. The Phantom of the Opera, drama, horror, and musical. An acid-scarred composer has his dwarf helper bring an opera singer to his London sewer hideout. The Phantom of the Opera is a classic love story, classic horror movie that will not disappoint. The Phantom of the Opera. Next up we have is Tales of Terror, comedy, horror, and mystery. 3 tales of terror involve a grieving widower and the daughter he abandoned, a drunkard and his wife's black cat, a hypnotist who prolongs the moment of a man's death. The Tales of Terror, comedy, horror, and mystery. The Brainiac, horror, sci-fi, and thriller. In 1661 Mexico, the Baron Mitilas of Astara is sentenced to be buried alive by the Holy Inquisition of Mexico for witchcraft. The Brainiac is a scary movie, sci-fi, thriller. Check it out. Next up we have is the classic The Beauty and the Beast, family, fantasy, and horror. Curse turns a handsome prince into a werewolf at night. A princess tries to help him while his enemies plot to take him down. Beauty and the Beast. Next up we have is The Brain That Wouldn't Die. A doctor experimenting with transplant techniques keeps his girlfriend's head alive when she is decapitated in a car crash, then goes hunting for a new body. So he keeps her alive, looking for a new body. So this is wickedly weird. Next thing we have is Carnival of Souls. This is a great movie, horror and mystery. After a traumatic accident, a woman becomes drawn to a mysterious abandoned carnival. Horror and mystery. This movie is creepy and eerie, kind of funny, but it's the Carnival of Souls that did it for me. Next up we have is Frankenstein, El Vampiro y Compañía. Frankenstein, the Vampire and Company. 2 screwballs get mixed up with monsters, mad scientists, and vampires. This is a comedy, fantasy, and horror released in Mexico, but this is a scary movie, so you should check it out. It's kind of good. If you like Dracula and monsters, perfect. Hand of Death is a horror and sci-fi movie. Alex Marsh has created a serum combining a hypnotic drug and nerve gas. Unfortunately spills the formula, breathing the vapors and getting some on his hands, causing the drug to transform him into the hands of death. Hands of a Stranger. All these movies about hands. A concert pianist loses his hands in a car crash, but a surgeon gives him new ones. The experimental medical procedure goes awry when the new hands drive the pianist mad. So the pianist starts to kill people. Hands of a Stranger. Hypnosis, horror and thriller. A hypnotist is murdered in his dressing room. The only witness seems to be his ventriloquist puppet. And a boxer and part-time delivery boy is blamed for the murder. How creepy is that? The puppet is the witness to the murder. Hypnosis. They should make a movie about that. Journey to the 7th Planet. Earth sends 5-man team to explore the frozen planet Uranus, only to find a temperate forest and sultry women from their past on it. courtesy of an alien brain with evil designs. Journey to the 7th planet. Next up we have is Vincent Price in Tower of London. He did a lot of scary movies. The twisted Richard III is haunted by the ghost of those he has murdered in his attempt to become the King of England. So everyone that he's killed are haunting him now. Drama, history, and horror. Next up we have is The Witch's Curse. Mashis travels to hell to find a witch and make her undo a curse she put on the surface world. Adventure, fantasy, and horror. The Witch's Curse. Will the witch undo the curse? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. Night Creatures. Adventure, drama, and horror. In 18th century England, the Royal Crown sends Royal Navy Captain Collier and his crew to investigate reports of illegal smuggling and bootlegging in a coastal town where locals believe in murder. Night Creatures. Next we have is Panic in Year Zero. Action, horror, and sci-fi. A family leaves LA for a camping trip just before a nuclear bomb destroys the city. As the city descends into chaos, the father must fight to keep his family alive. Panic in Year Zero will not disappoint. Planets Around Us. Horror and sci-fi. An alien race sends cyborgs made to look like the son of a famous scientist whom they killed when he landed on their planet to Earth to help pave the way for an invasion. Planets Around Us is a scary, creepy movie. Santo versus the Vampire Woman. Again, the mighty wrestler Santo, a professor, recruits a professional wrestler to protect his daughter from vampires intent on kidnapping her and marrying her to the devil. These Santo Lucha Libre movies, I have them all. They're all scary, they're good. Check them out. Santo versus the Zombies. If you like horror movies and monster movies, Blue Demon and Santo movies of wrestling, Mexican Lucha Libre will not disappoint. Wrestling superhero Santo battles an evil scientist who has created a race of zombies. Santo versus the Zombies. The Bloody Vampire. Count Calistogro, whose family has tried for generations to rid the world of vampires, instructs his daughter and her fiancé to protect several valuable documents. The Bloody Vampire will not disappoint. I love all these movies. Back in the early 60s, Technicolor, beautiful color. Next up we have is The Dungeon of Harrow. An evil, sadistic count lives in a waterfront castle with his insane family members. One day the survivor of a shipwreck washes ashore near the castle and finds himself a captive there. The Dungeon of Harrow is a horror film with some light comedy. The Invisible Dr. Mabuse. Evil mastermind Dr. Mabuse seeks Professor Azimuth's secret invention, a device that makes one invisible. But a murder ensues. Who is the murderer? Will Dr. Mabuse become invisible? Check it out. The Premature Burial. An artist grows distant from his wife as an irrational horror of premature burial consumes him. Drama, horror, and mystery. The Premature Burial is creepy, it's a thriller, and it's a horror movie. Another horror movie was The Wacky World of Dr. Morgus. A doctor invents a machine that can turn people into sand, then back again. How creepy is that? It turns a person into sand, and he can leave them like that, or turn them right back. Next up we have is a drama horror movie called The Couch. While undergoing therapy for his problems, a serial killer continues his murderous sprees. The Couch. So this movie is good. Psychology thriller, good one-liners, and intrigue, drama, and horror. Next up we have is The Creation of the Humanoids. In a post-Holocaust society, robots take it on their own to help the dying human race by giving them android bodies. The Creation of the Humanoids. Out of a World War III came the humanoids. The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock. Horror. In 1897 London, a woman weds a necrophiliac doctor whose first wife died under mysterious circumstances. and who might be returning from the grave to torment her successor, the horrible Dr. Hitchcock. Next up we have is The Brain, crime, horror, and drama. After the mysterious crash of a millionaire's private airplane, 3 scientists secretly harvest the dying man's brain and keep it alive. The Brain. This movie is classic horror, some jump scares, and kills. This is not a test. Drama and sci-fi. A deputy sheriff stops motorists on a mountain road after police dispatch reports of a possible nuclear attack. So this movie is kind of scary and spooky, and it's a horror. This is not a test. Next up we have is a scary movie and thriller, Trauma. Emmeline, who as a teenager discovered the drowned body of her aunt, returns to the family mansion as a married woman. Eventually she falls for the caretaker's nephew, and mayhem ensues. Trauma. This is a horror and thriller. I highly recommend it. And lastly, we have the all-time classic for 1962, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. A former child star torments her paraplegic sister in their decaying Hollywood mansion. This movie is the best ever. Betty Davis and Joan Crawford in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And this movie is a thriller, classic horror movie of 1962. Those are the horror movies that we loved of 1962. What horror movies do you remember from 1962? Let me know your favorites. If there are any movies that I left out, let me know below. I'm Tony. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this horror films of 1962. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, leave them below. Stay tuned, and I'll see you soon for the next video.